So when we talk about the application of knowledge, skills, tools, techniques, project activities to meet project requirements, and like I said, so many times we hear about going the extra mile. This is really important to know. PMI says the single most important job of a project manager is to prevent unauthorized changes. To prevent unauthorized changes. Now, when you ask how that's different, well, when we say to prevent unauthorized changes, that means we take the requirements from a customer and we work towards satisfying those requirements. No more, no less. Does anybody know what it's called when we perform more work than the requirements state? And a lot of times this term is associated with one thing, comes after another, after another, after another. And it's when we're performing more work than is required. And many times it's with good intentions. Many times, wouldn't the customer love this? Or, oh, I know what they really need. I'm going to add this piece of work and that piece of work and that piece of work. It's out of scope, also known as scope creep. And scope creep very frequently leads to gold plating. Okay, so what is the difference? Scope creep tends to be about the work. Gold plating tends to be about the product. Okay, so scope creep, to give you an example of that, and like I said, it's doing work that isn't scheduled, that isn't part of the requirements. Whether you feel like it adds value or not, we don't add value beyond what is specified in our requirements list. So let me give you an example of scope creep. This weekend, and I travel a lot, so I was home this weekend, and all I wanted to do was to get my room cleaned up. We actually just moved into a brand new house. Awesome, but probably one of the most stressful situations in the world. Unfortunately, I did not handle it as a project manager. I handled it as a new homeowner. So a little chaos, but that's okay. So all I wanted to do was to unpack my room. I promised I'll get my room done. I'll get everything where it needs to be. That's what I'm going to do. All right, so I am starting to unpack, I swear to you, first box. I unpack the first box and I think, gosh, I need a cup of coffee. So I go in the kitchen to make myself a cup of coffee and I notice that there are dishes in the sink, dirty dishes. Well, I can't let that go. So I go to put the dirty dishes in the sink, in the dishwasher, but the dishwasher is full. So I gotta unload the dishwasher. Now I'm gonna put the dirty dishes into the dishwasher, but as I'm putting the dirty dishes into the dishwasher, there's a tea bag that's fallen out in the sink, and I gotta throw that away. I don't know if you can tell where I'm going with this, but when I go and throw the tea bag away in the trash can, what do you think the trash can is? The trash can's full. So I have to take the trash out, and as I'm taking the trash out, there's a little leak in the bottom of the trash bag. So basically now I have coffee grounds on my floor, which requires I sweep and mop. Well, I can tell you that my kitchen was spotless by the time I was done. However, had I unpacked my bedroom? Nope. Did what I did really provide additional value? No. Because if I was hired or expected just to unpack my bedroom, even though I did lots of busy work, it wasn't of value. So, scope creep, like I said, it's often from good intentions, but the problem is I'm not meeting my commitments, I'm not meeting the customer requirement. And listen, let me tell you, there are a couple of reasons that exceeding customer requirements, project requirements, are bad. It's very hard to exceed the requirements of the project without taking more time, without doing more work, with adding to the schedule. So what I wind up doing is I take my resources and I apply them somewhere that may not deliver any value at all to the customer. One of the things I think about with scope creep, or let me say this actually might be more gold plating, but gold plating usually is a result of scope creep. And gold plating is more about the product. So here's a bright, shiny watch. Does it keep time? Nope, but look how shiny it is. It's made of gold. right? That's where that term comes from. So if I know. If any of you guys go back to the Microsoft Office days of like Microsoft Office 2000, like Excel 97, even Access 97, Microsoft was famous for having Easter eggs in their product. Okay? And if you're familiar with that, the idea of Easter eggs is these are these little hidden bonuses that no one expects, but sometimes you just stumble across them. Does anybody remember the Easter eggs in Office 97, for instance? And most people didn't stumble across them. But for instance, with Excel 97, if you went to cell XXLL97, if you went to that particular cell, and I forget what it is you had to type in, but your screen would go dark and you would get a flight simulator. So in Excel, if I knew the right command to type at the right location, I got a flight simulator. I'm using Excel. I've got work to do. That was not really my intent. Do you think that really allowed Microsoft to increase the billing for Excel because they had an Easter egg in it? No. What do I really think that was? I think that was some developer kind of goofing off and being silly, and that's gold plating. You know, can I use it as a spreadsheet? No, but you can use it as a flight simulator, right? Now, that didn't necessarily detract from the value of Excel, but there's one more moving piece that might cause my system to lock up. You know, if you go back to the Excel 97 days, we didn't have a lot of RAM in these systems. So now I've got users trying to turn Excel into flight simulators, and that winds up causing more harm than good, right? Don't give me more than what I asked for. There was one in Access where if you went to customize the Access toolbar, you actually had an option to add the magic 8-ball. So you would click on it, or you would ask a question, is it going to rain tomorrow? And click on the button and it would say, most definitely yes, or the answer's uncertain. Just little pieces of silliness, but I can guarantee you a developer took time to add that function, and a developer may very well have billed for that time. So that's exactly it, Alyssa. Unintended consequences. I'm not saying gold plating and scope creeping is always about goofing off, because it's usually not. But we're spending time creating something that's not part of the requirements. We've all heard that phrase, no good deed goes unpunished, right? So here I am just throwing in a little something extra for the customer. You know what? Now that extra piece, I have to provide warranty work for. So if that extra piece breaks, they're going to come back to me unhappy. Not to mention the fact that next time, what are they going to expect from me? To throw in a little extra because I did last time. And the other piece, of course, is I'm a representative of my organization. My job is to protect and further the goals of my organization. If I'm giving away free product or doing free work, waste of time, absolutely, and that's not covered. So make sure nowhere on this exam are you to exceed requirements. Our goal is always to meet requirements. That's exactly billable versus non-billables. And I will tell you, nothing will kill a project quicker than getting tangled up in a lot of non-billable work. Here's some free work I'm going to do for you. That's not the way we manage projects. Well, so then I get the questions, but requirements change. Well, of course they do. But not all changes in requirements are scope creep. And the way that we avoid or at least minimize scope creep is by having a good change management plan. A good, sound, well-documented change management plan. Because here's how this works. Okay, I'm in the planning phase of my project, and I am ready to commit to my sponsor the work I'm going to do, the amount of budget I need, and the amount of time I need on the schedule. So I'm ready to go to my sponsor and commit to, I'll have this work done by June 7th for a cost of $500,000. And I commit that. That information is formally written up, sponsor signs off on it, and I get to work, right? I start doing the work of the project. Okay, now, there are lots of reasons changes can happen. So let's say I'm building you a sun deck, right? And let's say we agreed on 10,000 bucks and I'll be finished in 15 days. All right, will you call me up and say, you're doing such a great job building the sun deck, I'd like you to add some landscaping around it. Can you do that for me? Make sure, particularly on the exam, but also in real life as well, the answer at that point in time should not be yes, but it also shouldn't be no. The answer should be, let me do a little bit of research and I'll get back to you. Okay? Because the idea is, if you're wanting me to landscape, that's additional work. And I'd like to do additional work for you, but I want to make sure I get paid for it. So ultimately, if you're calling back and requesting more work, I go do my research, I document, you and I discuss what additional work, and then those changes go through a change control process where we ultimately get acceptance from the customer. Well, all of a sudden, we're not looking at scope creep. We're looking at new authorized work. So when you have an authorized change to scope and we get sign off from the customer, we get new totals. We get new baselines. So whereas I had committed to you to be finished in 15 days for $10,000, yes, I'll do the additional work for you, but it'll bring our total up to $13,000 and it'll take me 18 days. All right, you as the customer sign off on that. That's not scope creep. That's billable work that we understand the impact of. So if you want to avoid scope creep on your projects, don't implement changes that have not been through a formalized change control process. When the change control is authorized and signed off by the customer, boom, it's no longer scope creep. It is an approved change. Okay? Now,